Moving on to other matters of the day, and there are concerns that there is a silent epidemic impacting men who are failing to talk about their health concerns with friends, families, even their doctor. To talk more on this, I'm joined by performance and growth coach Don Sint. Good morning to you, Donny.
Good morning, Jules. How are you?
I'm well. Look, generally speaking, men aren't great at speaking. Do we think there is an issue with men addressing their health in this country?
Look, we know there's definitely an issue, and we know that, like anything, it's life. Life is getting in the way. Men, they're busy, they're always wanting to be progressive, they're always wanting to do the very best for themselves and for their families. And so sometimes, they're not putting themselves in front to talk about how they feel or what they need. And sometimes even just physically look after themselves.
Of course, you've had more than 20 years in elite sport, working mainly in the NRL with the likes of the Manly Sea Eagles. So you've worked with, generally speaking, young men at the peak of their career, the peak of their fitness. But where are we starting to see some issues now with Australian men? Is it the older gentlemen?
Look, it is the older gentlemen. One of the biggest fears is around capability. And everybody would like to know that they could age and grow and develop and still be capable of doing all the physical things like playing and loving and just working and living. And in order to get the real quality out of those things, we have to be really mindful of how we live. And so, we have hormones and chemicals. You have dopamine for fun and serotonin for sleep. You've got oxytocin for love and companionship and things. And then you've got endorphins for pain. And these are all stimulated by activity, mental and physical activity. So with the older men and even with the younger men, these are the things that we really want them to be aware of, is how to maintain and stimulate that type of biology in your body.
So what are the impacts if you don't address those issues?
Well, in a really simple way, as we say in sport and in most exercise, if you don't use it, you're going to lose it. So you have to move. Your body is, it's a biological and anatomical structure. So, it's a skeleton and muscles, it's tendons and ligaments, it's articulated, it's biology, it's blood and cells. There's all these things happening to make us able to move around and grow with quality. And then we've got organs that really determine the quality of that development. So, it's really important that we're very, very aware of exercise, of sleep, of our nutrition, and of stimulating our minds.
What are some of the common health concerns for the older gentlemen?
Yeah. For men in particular, it would have to be the very natural decrease in testosterone. Now, testosterone is the male sex hormone. It's responsible for the testes and the prostate. It's also responsible for the growth of muscles and your bone mass. And so, in Australia, this men, I think it's around 40%. No, it is around 40% of men over 45. It's decreasing, and so we measure that, not to get all scientific about it, but we do measure that in like nanograms and deciliters, which you won't worry about that. But under 300 is a decrease. You can go to a GP and have that measured. And what we're seeing is that there's a decrease in that. And as I said just a minute before, activity and stimulation will help you maintain those levels and prevent that decrease happening too quickly. So 1 in 5 over 55 males in Australia have low testosterone. So it's as I said before, that's about the growth and maintaining your blood and your bones and your muscles. So it's really important that we look at strategies and ways through our nutrition and the way we live to maintain those levels and to prevent that decrease.
I suppose for many men, and I think of the men in my life, it's not an easy conversation to have. There's perhaps a little bit of pride on the line. They're not as physically strong or capable as they used to be. What are some of the tips or some of the things that men can do, to maintain that health and fitness?
Yeah. Look, number one is doing something for themselves. So whether it's exercise or just adjusting something in their life where they actually do feel like they're being progressive. Number two is absolutely conversations. We talk about that a lot, especially in sport, sharing, learning about each other, but sharing with other men or other people, how you're feeling, where you are, what your dreams are, and how you're progressing through life. And you're absolutely right. There's something that men tend not to do for whatever reason, whether it's socialisation or generational thing or how we're growing. But we do know with our younger generations now in schools that they're learning about having conversations, and we're seeing a shift there with our younger generations. They're so much more open, they're so much more engaging and with each other. And that's how we have to be. Older men have to have conversations. Older men have to look after themselves physically.
And is it a case of, instead of perhaps going and having an alcoholic beverage with your mates and having the conversation in that type of setting, is it a case of, let's go for a walk, let's go play some golf, let's get out and about and have a conversation that way in a much more natural setting?
Yeah, that's an absolute. That's you know, if you can encourage each other to have healthy lifestyles, that's going to be really beneficial. If you can promote recreation and rest. That's another thing, you know, we come from a generation where everybody thinks, you know, the harder and longer I work, you know, the more I'm doing, the more productive I am. And all the time, you know, you've got to pay the piper somewhere. You're taking and taking and taking. You've got to put something back in. Your example there about joining in with friends, going out, maybe decreasing some of the more, and you know, not to judge, but the more toxic type of things that occur for you in your body with substance and using alcohols and that. Yeah, maybe decrease those activities.
Because it is such a huge part of our culture here in Australia, and we know that. Have you found in your line of work now that you're getting more professional men coming to you saying, I just need that little bit of support, I need that little bit of guidance, what do I do to, it's always been work, 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 not enough family time, not enough me time?
Absolutely. And again, yeah, we really, when I speak to these guys, I really promote that importance around rejuvenating yourself, regenerating yourself, and activating yourself. And this, like we said before, can come through these conversations, spending time actually looking at what you're doing and finding purpose and meaning in it again. And I know that sounds a little bit, you know, that's a bit out there, as if it's sort of esoterical or spiritual in a sense. But the reality is, ruts put people into places that they have difficulty getting out of. So if we can avoid those ruts by actually just teasing, being more curious about where we want to go in life, where we are in life, and sometimes how we got there, are enough to stimulate us to re-engage in that growth process.
Well, you're doing wonderful work. I certainly appreciate you coming in to talk to us about it. Hopefully the men at home are taking some advice or listening. Some of the women might be unimpressed that I said get out on the golf course. But as long as we're being active and healthy, that's all we can ask for. Don, thank you so much for joining us. I appreciate it.
You're very welcome.